Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Marc Gronich of Tech Valley, JBizTechValley.com and Statewide News. We have a very special guest with us, Michael Cohen, the Comptroller of Bethlehem. Mike, welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you very much.
So how long have you been the Comptroller?
I've been the Comptroller since the beginning of 2012. Prior to that, I was the Chief Accountant for the town since April 2010.
So can we call you the Chief Bean Counter, or is that respectful enough?
You could.
What goes into your job? What is a typical day for you? Is it just looking at numbers or interacting with people, or what's a typical day like?
Pardon me. A typical day changes from day to day. It's a very dynamic position.
There is no typical.
Yeah, it's quite dynamic. There's a lot that goes on in the Comptroller's office, the town of Bethlehem. But essentially what we're doing in our office is we're overseeing the payables, the cash of the receivables, identifying it for our general ledger system. We're doing projections and budgets. In addition to that, we're also looking to see how we can make things more efficient. We've done a number of efficiency upgrades to the system since.
What system?
To the process, the Comptroller's office process, since I got there as the Chief Accountant, and then we further amended those processes once I became Comptroller. But I deal daily with John Clarkson, the town supervisor, and he's challenging me on a daily basis.
Well, did he ask you for the budget? Let's say, for example, hey, I need some more, I think we should put more money in the roads, for example. So you have a voice in that, or saying, yeah, we can do a little less for the roads and put some more money somewhere else?
Parks or something.
I get a tiny say in that. I mean, if things need to be done, they need to be done. I mean, in terms of infrastructure, those department heads, including our DPW commissioner and the highway superintendent, they tell us what their needs are, and we try not to interfere too much with that based on numbers. But
you don't tune it up, you just accept whatever department you're saying, okay, I see you need it, and you get what you want.
We ask the questions as to whether things can be done more efficiently, but typically, because I don't have the knowledge or the background to make a determination as to what kind of condition a road is in, or even to say, well, you don't really need this type of road material, you need porous pavement or something. I can't do that, but what I can do is say, we really can't afford that this year. Is there some way we can push this off to next year? And also I can make recommendations as to whether the money comes from our operations or whether it comes from debt, or whether we can go out and find grant money.
So what was your background that brought you to this point? Would you go to college and have an accounting degree, or what was MBA? What was your background?
Right. My background is I went to Syracuse University, graduated with a degree in accounting.
Oh, okay.
When I came out of there, I worked for Coopers & Lybrand in Philadelphia. I worked there for 4 years as both an associate and a senior associate. I left there after 4 years because my goal, my dream was to work in the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm. Really?
And somewhere. I didn't really care where. I had even had an interview with ABC in New York City at one point. thought that would be phenomenal, exciting.
Yeah.
So we had a client who owned cable television stations as well as broadcast television stations, and what was new at the time, satellite television, DirecTV. The manager on one of my jobs said, "Would you have any interest in that?" And I said, "Would I? Absolutely. Just point me in the direction." And so he sent me on that to the company, and I interviewed and got that job.
Which company?
It's called Pegasus Communications.
Okay, I have heard of it.
They actually, this Pegasus doesn't exist in that form anymore.
No, it doesn't. None of the cable operations
Right.
exist in the form that they were
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Right.
How old are you now?
I'm 43.
Okay, so you're still a youngin'.
I'd like to think of myself that way, but depends on the perspective. My kids don't think so. But anyway, so I worked for Pegasus for a year and a half, and we had a child. My wife and I had a child, and we had recently found out that we had another one on the way. And so we looked into purchasing a house down in Philadelphia, and we looked around and we said, we should have family support. We have no family here. Neither of us have. My parents were in Albany. Her parents live in the southern tier of New York.
What town? I'm curious.
It's a town called Woodhull, which is about a half an hour west of Corning.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's like Allegheny County? It's Cattaraugus County, Allegheny
no,
County?
begins with an S, but
Not Seneca County.
I can't recall what the
Schuyler County.
Nope, I can't think of it.
Marc, it could be a director of tourism director in New York State. He knows everything.
Broome, Tioga,
Maybe it is Allegheny.
Chemung.
I'm not.
Chemung is where Corning is. It might be in
No,
Chemung
it
County.
might be Chemung.
And then Allegheny, so Chemung, or maybe it sounds like an S.
Maybe it sounds like an S. It's a C.
Woodhull, okay.
Yeah, Woodhull, New York.
When nothing, yeah,
But there's really nothing out
more
there
cows
for
than people.
Yes, yes. So, and both my wife and I are accountants. So there was really no choice for us. If we wanted to move closer to family, we had to move to Albany. So I did sort of a search up in Albany to see what was available. There were a number of positions that were available, but the one that was closest to what I was currently doing was at Time Warner Cable. And it was basically just an upgrade from Pegasus to Time Warner in terms of responsibility. Although at Pegasus I was making managerial decisions, and at Time Warner you're sort of a small fish in a big pond. So I was doing much more specific accounting work, but for a much larger company. And I spent 12 years, a little over 12 years at Time Warner Cable, and I enjoyed my time there, but they did a restructuring and asked me I could stay in a similar but slightly different role and get paid without incentive of a bonus. So basically I was losing compensation, or take a severance package and find something on my own. And so I did some consulting for a little while, and then the position of chief accountant came up here.
Who was the supervisor at the time?
At the time it was Sam Messina.
Okay.
So
he was doing a little restructuring of his own?
He was doing a little restructuring of his own. The auditors, the previous auditors, had made a recommendation that the town needed another accountant.
Okay.
So they needed somebody beyond the comptroller. We do have a deputy comptroller. His focus is more purchasing and less accounting specific. So they felt that they needed somebody who was more accounting oriented in that office.
So the highest grade level was a bachelor's that you got?
Yes, I
At
did.
Syracuse?
Yes, I received a bachelor's. I guess I neglected to mention that I also got my CPA while I was at Coopers and Lybrand.
Okay.
And at the time, the choice was get your master's or get your CPA.
Right.
And frankly, CPA was, at least at that time, I don't know exactly how it is now, but felt more prestigious to have my CPA. And further, I really didn't need it for my work in public accounting, and of course, I really don't need my CPA so much, or to utilize my CPA when you're in private industry, even in government accounting. But it does show,
Credentials.
Yeah, what you know, and
people want to see that
Right.
the credentials.
right,
And it's not from a mail order
Yeah,
college. So,
right, right.
So you said that you have 2 kids, and
Yes.
you've been married for how many years?
I've been married for 21 years.
21 years, half your
Yes.
life, almost.
Yeah, almost half my life now. It's amazing.
So you have, and you still have 2 kids. That's
I do have 2 kids.
Okay.
Yes.
And
I'm
you have
sorry.
3 kids?
3
4
kids.
Oh.
I forgot my daughter already.
Yeah. You have
I had
3 children.
1 child after we moved up here.
All right. And are they being brought up with Jewish education, or?
Yes, they attend Biachad at Ohav / Temple
TI,
Israel.
right.
And my oldest son is at Marist now, and my middle son Ryan he attends the Mifgash program
Okay.
here, and my daughter, who has yet to be B'nai Mitzvah, is attending Biachad at Temple Israel / Ohav.
How old's your daughter?
She's 11.
Grew up with Clara.
So getting bas mitzvah soon. All right, so that'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that.
Okay. No, I'm Mazel Tov.
Thank
You
you.
should only have simchas and Leil nachas from your children. And,
Thank you.
It's really great. So you seem to have a settled life right now. It's good.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
Nice. Yeah.
It's a wonderful place to live, town of Bethlehem. It's interesting living in North Bethlehem, in that because we're closer to Guilderland, and our kids are sent to the Guilderland schools, which is actually further for us than the Bethlehem schools. You sort of don't have that sense of inclusion within the town of Bethlehem. However, since I've become more Bethlehem-centric and driven in this direction, I've found the most wonderful people here and become closer with the community. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about this position is that I feel like I'm helping people on a daily basis. The things that we do and the decisions that we make really come from a place of desire to assist other people, my neighbors, and when I say my neighbors, I mean everybody.
Not just the people on your block.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody within the town.
Yeah.
And I meet more and more people from the town, and it's really
So for people
great.
who might be watching this who don't know where North Bethlehem is, it's in the Crumpkill Road area, right?
right.
So that's about in that area where it
It's-
goes out by Schoolhouse. It borders all City of Albany, at one point Guilderland, so it's around
Correct.
that area.
Yes, we're off of Crumpkill and New Scotland roads. Indian Hills is back
Yes.
there. Brookhaven,
Right.
Dutch Brook, Stafford's Crossing.
Yeah. So that's great. That's a great area.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice place to raise your kids, And we've been there since the end of 1997, so we've been
So are you
been in the town
affiliated
for-
with a synagogue, or
OHAV.
you are affiliated with
We are
OHAV?
affiliated with OHAV, and Rabbi Dan and
Yeah.
Rabbi Rena, wonderful people.
Oh, it's a wonderful congregation. I really, they're very even and eclectic to some extent.
Yeah.
What's the size of the town budget?
The town budget is about $38 million.
And we have there are 33,000 residents.
Yes.
Is there a disproportion or is that about the same as other towns per person, the size of the budget per person?
Well, I guess I haven't studied other towns'
towns to see
budgets
that? Okay.
specific to that question, but one thing that I've found is that in government accounting, it's not like private accounting where towns utilize the balance sheet for their fixed asset. It's for the fixed asset purchases. A lot of fixed asset purchases are run through your operating costs or operating expenditures.
What's the debt service for the And it's good to have debt. Is what I don't want the audience to
Yeah.
know. Wait a minute, this is a problem. I just
Right.
want to make it clear that
Yes.
a little bit of debt is not so bad, right?
Right. A little bit of debt is not bad, and the reason that you'd want to borrow as opposed to running everything through your operating expenditures is that if you're running it through your operations, then the people who are here right now are paying for, those people that are going to move in tomorrow. They're paying for it with their tax dollars. Where if we borrow and pay for something over 10 years, then
It's not
somebody
just
who
the
moves here
people
5
today,
years from now,
who's paying. It's also people who move in subsequent.
Correct.
Right. So
So
it spreads the
Do you
wealth.
think it's a tax, I mean, this is what, again, I don't have the numbers and I don't study it like yourself. My father's an accountant, so I guess it's in my genes, but in any case, but people are just saying bottom line that the taxes are very high in Delmar, maybe because of the budget. I don't know if they just feel that it's higher. Again, maybe like you say, you can't say comparatively, sit there and compare all the suburbs, Colony, Guilderland, or whatever.
it is hard to compare from one community to the next because you have different infrastructure, the way that the town was built. The town of Bethlehem has 2 water plants. I don't know if too many people know that, but we have a New Salem water plant. We have a Clapper Road water plant. Up until recently, they were separate. They sourced separate areas. There was in 2010, when Sam Messina was still here, the board voted to open the valve, is what they called it. And so what that meant is share water between the Clapper Road plant and the New Salem plant. That saved the town $1 million a year going forward because we didn't need to purchase as much outside water, which when Clapper Road was built, there were a number of environmental groups that came out and said, I don't want to be drinking this water. It comes from the Hudson. But it really didn't come from the Hudson. It really came from the aquifers under the Hudson. So it didn't have the same pollutants. And even if it did have the same pollutants, we treat the water. It has to meet,
EPA
fairly
standards, yeah.
excruciating standards. But now we've had 15 years. Clapper Road water plant was built in 1994, and so we've had 15, 16 years now to study. We had at the time when we went to open the valve. It was hard to argue that
We
water.
don't buy from Albany. Something in the
Well,
back of my
that's-
mind says,
You have that correct.
The Alcove Reservoir?
There is there's a contract with the town of Bethlehem has a contract with the city of Albany to purchase water. It was signed in 2004. When the two water plants were separate, that agreement was to purchase a certain amount of water, and it was over a 20-year period with no out clauses. So, and there were steps in there. So we not only had to purchase X amount of water at the outset of the contract for the first 5 years, but then it was X plus Y in the next 5 years, and then 5 years it's X plus Y plus Z.
More and more.
And it's a take or pay contract, which most people probably don't know exactly what that is, but what that means is...
Even if you don't take what you're supposed to, you still got to pay for it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So we pay for it whether we use it or not. So we do take it because that way we don't have to produce as much water, which saves us incrementally.
Right. But so you got this contract until 2024?
We do. We do. And
doesn't seem fair. Maybe the new mayor you could work with, and maybe she could do something for you.
I would imagine that because they know they have us.
Yeah.
We've had a number of attorneys study this contract. There appears to be
no way out.
No way out of it. In our budget right now, we have budgeted for 2014 about $2 million, a little less than $2 million,
to purchase water from
Albany.
That you don't need.
That we don't need. And now come 2024, by the time we're up to about $3 million in purchases, the town is going to experience a windfall like it's never ever experienced before, because obviously now we don't need to tax that or put it into our user fees.
Right.
So come 2024, we can all look forward to a savings.
Maybe both be around 11 years from now, to
Absolutely.
experience this,
I certainly hope so. Yeah, there are things that we have to deal with in the current budget and for the next several years.
Is that the water problem, the most annoying issue for you?
It's up
there.
there. It's way up there.
Okay, so now let me ask you this: town of New Scotland has a terrible water problem, and that's
What's the problem?
They have very little water, which is why they can't do economic development, because there's no water to supply the businesses who might want to be there. When they were talking about box stores in the town of New Scotland, they were talking about other, even restaurants. There was very little water. There wasn't enough water to be able to satisfy their needs, so that's why everything went bust, basically. And the town of New Scotland's not growing. But maybe you can make a deal with town of Scotland to take this extra water off your hands. And
I believe that there is something in place. I'm not overly familiar with the details of it.
I understand.
But I believe that there is something in place with New Scotland, not to take the Albany water specifically. Obviously, it's all the same for us.
Right.
And we have thought about trying to make deals with other communities, but the problem is the infrastructure. Is how do you get that water there?
And the pipeline, to build that pipeline is going to be very expensive. Yes.
And if a community wanted to purchase water and we said, well, why don't we just ship it directly from Albany? Albany would say, well, why don't we just sell it to you? So it doesn't make any sense.
So this would be where towns should cooperate, or municipalities should cooperate with each other and not try to be, this isn't corporate America when you're talking about government and municipalities.
Well, we all have our issues and territories and other municipalities for the most part are set with their water situation.
Right.
I don't know why, and I can't pretend to get into someone's mind as to why this deal was made, but
it was.
It
and
was,
this is what's handed to you, so you deal with it.
Correct.
Right.
And I would say that the other issue that was that most upsets me with the town is the Selkirk-Cogen pilot issue, which has put us into a bind for 2013. And what
What
that
is it? Explain it, I don't even
Well,
know. I
what
live
a-
here.
what a pilot agreement is a payment in lieu of taxes. So it's an arrangement with a business to pay taxes outside of the tax process. So and typically you get the school district involved, you get the county involved, the town. But in this particular instance, this was 20 years ago, 1994. Same time as Clapper Road, and so anyway, the town made out very well. They excluded the county from the agreement, and we got quite a bit of the school money, and so we knew that this pilot agreement was going to be ending, and yet nobody did anything about it until, it was sort of like hot potato. Well, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take it. And in the end, we were stuck with it at the end of 2012 when the pilot ended. And all of a sudden, the town lost $1.3 million in property tax revenue.
And that's when you had to increase taxes.
And that's when we had to increase our tax rate, tax levy,
But now this year, for this budget, you're not really increasing taxes. Pretty much,
we've left it relatively flat.
I think at the budget meeting, you said, when you talked about averages, you said no one pays the average.
Right. So we said the average is about $5 on a $250,000 house, and notice
$5 a year.
$5 for the year. Yes.
Right, yeah.
On a $250,000 house, when you look at other communities, they're always saying on a $100,000 house, on a $200,000.
Yeah.
This is $5 on a $250,000 house, which is the average for the town of Bethlehem.
But no one pays the average.
But nobody pays the average. So it's there were people that are above it, up to $19 per year.
Right.
And there are people who are paying less, substantially less. I mean, we have
reduction.
We have reductions this year in the Selkirk/Glenmont Fire District. Those people that are covered by that fire district are actually seeing a decrease in their town taxes this year.
So if someone wants to dispute their taxes, do they go to you or the town clerk, or who do they go to?
Well, if they want to if they want to dispute, I guess they theoretically could call my office.
Oh, right. What's your number?
My number is 439-4955, extension 1123, and I'd be happy to discuss
the tax situation.
The tax situation, absolutely.
Well, Mike, it was good talking to you, and just keep the figures good over here. We don't want to see too many taxes, but listen, the city runs well, and you pay for the town. The town runs well, and you pay for what you get. You're in a nice suburb, and that's why I tell people, you want a nice suburb, you have to pay. But we don't have to pay too much. So thanks for keeping the numbers right, and Michael Cohen over here, the Comptroller of Bethlehem, you're doing a good job, and give you our blessing to keep on going with good health with your family, living well, and everything should be good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.